everyone. We're back here at RSA. We're wrapping up our Tuesday coverage. And this is the part of the show where we get to talk football. No, we don't. No, we don't. I'm only kidding. We've already talked football. You weren't privy to it. I can tell you all about it. Andy came with a cheat sheet full of things a Patriot fan would say to a Steelers fan. We then looked, from AI, of course, we then looked up on AI things the Steelers fans can say to a Patriots fan.
There weren't many.
Right. But let's face facts. Neither one of us are in the Super Bowl this year.
We're not going to do it this year. Maybe next year.
Maybe the year
But I sound like a
after.
Jets fan.
Hope springs eternal.
It does.
For the Jet fan. God bless them. Anyway, you know, one of the nice things about RSA is I get to see my friends. I've been in this community a long time. And there are some people I just, it's good to see it. It gives me, I don't know what the word is, but there's a Yiddish word. for it,
Nachas.
probably. Yes, nachas. I don't know if you know what that is. But anyway, to see these people, this guy's one of them. Andy Ellis, I could embarrass him and tell you, he's a Hall of Fame CISO. He was the head of security at Akamai for 20 years. He then started a career as a venture capitalist. As his mother would tell her friends, my son's a venture capitalist. And it's been instrumental in advising a bunch of startups into successful paths. Some have exited, some are continuing to grow. Yep. But more than that, Andy's also, you know, we talk about community. Andy's a steadfast member of the community. Whoever you go to in this cyber world, and even though there's 40,000 people here, it's a tight community. They know him, they know what he stands for, and it's good things, right? It's quality, it's the right thing. So happy to call him a friend. He's my only Patriots fan, I'll be honest with you, who's a friend. Yeah, maybe. I've got a few Pats friends. Will Herman, I'm looking at you. Anyway, Andy, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
It's a pleasure
and I
to
have
have
to say,
you here.
Alan might actually be my only Pittsburgh Steelers fan friend.
Well, I can understand that. We are
A tough breed to
we're
like.
a tough bunch. We're a tough bunch. But the draft is coming to Pittsburgh. I'm
It
going.
is. It's
If you wanna
fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun week or a fun 3 days. Anyway, but Andy, seriously, no
more
football.
football
Let's talk security.
Yep.
Of course, I think I interviewed you last year, and your book was just out.
Yep.
You got copies here. What's been doing since?
So people still love the book, 1% Leadership. And I decided I should write something about security as well.
That makes sense.
And instead of doing a book, I'm doing it as mini ebooks. And I tested the waters last year with the first 91-day guide for a CISO.
Okay.
So I called it How to CISO, which was fascinating. A bunch of CISO friends are like, that's insulting to call it How to CISO, but most folks really loved it. It's like simple,
so.
practical action.
It reminds me of, remember Rothman's book?
Yep.
The CISO's Guide or something like that.
Yeah. And so I wrote another one over the winter, which was the idealized CISO job description, which I wrote after consulting with a company that had a CISO. They were Series D. It was a director of security. And when I talked to all the executives around them, I realized they all had a different belief of what the CISO job was. And this person was doomed to fail. And so part of my job was to write down this job description and say, here's what you collectively are expecting, and that's not fair.
Right.
And I looked at it and said, this is great content. So I wrote it and I published it and said, this is what your organizations might be expecting. Have a conversation. And Helen Patton and I just gave a talk to the CISO boot camp, organized around it,
Very
walking
cool.
through our career paths, how different they were, and how we sort of were like Pokemon, collect all the jobs along the way. And that you might not have that opportunity as an aspiring CISO today because you're in organizations that have structure. And so you have to make those job changes. They don't come organically. And so I published howtociso.com, which is
cool.
a place to collect this content of
a whole
things
collection
you need
of books.
as a CISO or aspiring CISO.
I got two quick things I want to pick on. First of all, tell the truth. Did you use AI on it at all?
No, everything there
Totally
are
is
my
from you.
words. I've shared with CISOs and gotten feedback from them or experts in very specific fields. When I was talking about the SaaS environment, I talked to a bunch of founders I know in the SaaS space to make sure that I was keeping abreast of innovation. But everything there are my words.
Do you think AI couldn't help you?
So I think that AI could help me, but for the way I write would not be a value add. Since
Okay.
I'm a professional writer and I write everything in my head, and the act of writing is quickly, AI doesn't provide a lot in a space that I know what I'm talking about. I have used AI before. What I'll often do is I'll have AI write a first draft, and then I just go in and I rip it apart. And what I end up writing looks nothing like.
I do backwards. I write the first draft.
And then you let AI
And then
edit
I
it.
upload it, yeah, and say, make it punch here, make it this, but it's interesting. Secondly, though, you talk about the description, it's CISO job description.
Yep.
I think, especially early on when the rise of CISOs was first, becoming a thing, that was one of the biggest problems. The fact of the matter was most people were hiring a CISO, were hiring a security architect
Right.
who was going to come in. It's kind of like, I don't know if you ever took epistemology in college.
Yes.
Right? So there's different theories of what God is. And one of those theories is God's just kind of sets the rules.
Yep.
And then he set the rules for, the 4 laws of physics, of nature, whatever, and lets it play out. Whatever will be, will be.
Yep.
It was the same kind of thing hiring a CISO.
Yeah.
We're gonna set the rules. We're gonna architect the policies,
see what
the
happens.
process, and then we don't need the CISO anymore. Let him go be a security admin again.
Yeah. So I think that what happened was you had a bunch of security people who were all technically savvy.
Mm-hmm.
And then whichever one did not piss off everybody in the organization became the CISO. Right? It was
But their lifespan was this short.
it was often very short because they went around pissing people off. Like they thought their job was to eliminate risk rather than enable the business to make better risk choices. Right? You don't even manage risk. Like as a CISO, your job is to help other people manage
the risk. I agree with you. But we seem to have evolved
Yes.
beyond that. I think most understand now what a CISO does. I would say one of the biggest problems I find, like what separates a good CISO from a okay CISO,
Yep.
they all generally have good security knowledge, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's kind of a given. It's their ability to translate it to business
Right.
talk
Right.
is where the issue arises.
Yeah, I like to say that one of the core process skills is obviously project management, but reverse project management, which is what I call business perspective, which is when you're trying to manage a project, you're trying to get something done, and you run afoul of other stakeholders. You need to be able to reverse and say, what do those other stakeholders want? That's all that business perspective is saying, oh, I want to release safe software. They want to release software fast. These are in tension. How do I get us both to agree to release safe software quickly? Because if I'm trying to slow things down, I'm in direct opposition to them.
Yep.
And so that's, I think that when people say business perspective, that's what they need to understand is if you're in a room and somebody who's not you proposes a thing and you can model the argument that somebody else will make against it, you have business perspective.
Agreed. I brought up AI for a reason.
Yep.
It wasn't just to see how you write.
Just because it's the talk of the show floor. Everything is AI.
You can't walk from a dark tile to a light tile here without tripping over.
You can't.
But how is AI affecting the role of the CISO? And maybe we could see a short ebook on this.
So I think there's a bunch of books on the show floor you can get written by AI about the role of AI. It's
Well, but we want an
fascinating.
Andy one, not an AI written one.
So sort of here's my take on that, which is AI is changing our jobs in a couple of ways. One of the ways is our companies are embracing AI very quickly, and that can be a huge problem for us if that's what's going on. But that's not the only issue, right? The issue is also like our jobs are changing. AI makes people faster,
Yes, it does.
but it also hallucinates. Because people have focused on Gen AI. They've forgotten about automation as a piece of AI, reductive analytic AI.
Pattern matching, ML.
That's all AI.
20 years of history there.
The other thing I think people need to think about is where are there places that AI is just taking a hard problem and glossing over how hard it is, and maybe there's different approaches. Like I see a lot of companies in the vulnerability management space who are like, oh, we'll use AI to do better prioritization. And why aren't we talking about how do we just minimize vulnerabilities in our work, in our place entirely?
Yeah.
Right? And that's, I think, that doesn't require AI, that just requires
No.
minimization of our footprint.
It's funny you brought it up. I got a pitch from someone. Actually, I think we spoke about it on Textron Gang today. A new company, Minimus.
Minimus.
You saw this. So I was at SUSECon maybe a month and a half ago down in Orlando. I drove up.
Yep.
You know, they did a new thing with their Linux distro where they've taken your typical Linux packages and stripped out all the bloatware, all the unnecessary stuff, hardened it. And so now if you download those distros directly and packages directly from SUSE, you got a smaller footprint, secured thing. It sounds that's what Minimus is trying to do.
Doing, so I went and I talked with them.
Did you?
Full disclosure, they're one of our portfolio companies.
Are they? I didn't know that, I swear to God.
They did so great in stealth that I did not know what they were doing.
You didn't know them either?
Yesterday morning.
There you go.
They wanted to be completely secret, so I got to go meet with them today. Like, what are you guys doing? You have my money.
It's crazy. I swear I did not know Andy was involved.
No, they did a fantastic job. It's the ex-Twistlock team are doing that.
That's exactly what it is.
And there's some similarities in that approach, right? It was fascinating was when they briefed it to me, I'm like, oh, this is no brainer because this is what I did at Akamai. Like when my first job was secure our servers, I said, well, why do we have things like GDB on a production system? Like get rid of developer tools. And it's similarity to the approach. There's two big differences. Like SUSE, great, I'm glad they did that. Challenge is you have to use their distribution.
Well, no, this is the year of Linux on the desktop.
This is the year. Is focus on the application. So, you want an Nginx, and the problem is when you install Nginx, like the dependency tree is every possible use of Nginx, so it doesn't help if your OS was okay, you just added on an application stack that's not safe. So first of all, get rid of all the things you don't need to run Nginx in a production environment, and then the second, which is the one I really love, is chase that dependency tree, and the way it currently waterfalls up is if you have a 5-layer dependency, the 4th layer included the 5th layer at some point in the past, the 3rd layer included the 4th, etc. And so your 5th layer might be 8 months out of date by the time it gets included here.
That's what dependency trees work.
Even though they have updated since, that's not how the dependency tree currently works. And what they do is they rebuild the package against everybody's latest. So now instead of going 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, grab latest on everything.
Left to right versus right to left.
Exactly.
Now, let me ask you a question, though, because no kidding, all kidding aside now, you and I spoke last night briefly on the show floor. You did mention, I forgot it was you who mentioned it. That's how old I am. But it wasn't me who brought it up on Textron Gang. Mike Vizard actually wrote a story about them on Security Boulevard today, I believe. My thought was, though, so are they going to take everybody's stack individually and do this on a per engagement basis like that? Like they're going to say, okay, let me read your...
No, so they're just a new distribution.
So it's just their distro that they're doing.
So you basically can get the Minimus latest Nginx and it is clean. And you don't have to worry about it. And if for some reason you have a dependency that you have to be on 1.26 instead of 1.27, then you can go say, okay, that's what I want. And oh, look, I see that I'm inheriting 2 vulnerabilities because I'm on an older version. But now you only have to worry about those 2 and not the 97 you would have had you just taken it with its normal dependencies.
Now, so there's a Linux distro with the Nginx?
I don't know that it's a Linux distro. I think it's more of a container-wrapped package.
Oh, it's a containerized.
Like more of what you're doing in an AWS-style environment. I have to look into the details on how it works at the OS layer as well, so I'll be honest.
Well, if it's containerized, it's probably more in a kube environment. Could be serverless. So now, because my question was, where's the scalability? It's great if I'm doing Nginx. There's a lot of other stuff out here.
Right.
But once you're saying, okay, I could do that as a container, I could literally take anything, containerize it, and make a Minimus distro of it.
Yes. Right.
That's interesting.
And that's what they'll do for you as their customer, right? You now don't have to do it. Like this is work that anybody in theory could do, but the scale of the work doesn't make it worthwhile.
I don't know if everyone could do it, Andy, because I think, unfortunately, most organizations don't have the know-how.
Right. You'd have to buy the know-how.
To harden it. Find it, what do I need? What do I don't need? I would rather trust that to someone who knows what the hell they're doing.
Yep, and you should. And so I think what I love about this is, yes, they use some AI in how they're doing the minimization, but it's AI alongside a human, not AI replacing a human. But it's changing the game a little bit, because now it says, look, you have 1,000 problems. Let's just eliminate 950 of them. Right? Whereas everybody else is saying, we'll find out of the 1,000, like the 12 that matter.
Right.
Well, if we can eliminate 950,
and you can only focus at 50, that's a lot easier. Exactly. I agree with you. Now I understand, because the way I got a cheat sheet for today's TechStrong gang.
Yep.
And the way the cheat sheet read from Mike Vizard's article was, this was a SaaS solution that was, taking the risk out of packages.
Right.
And I couldn't understand how you could scale it.
Nope. No, it's not a SaaS package. And in fact, one of the things they implement, because they're security focused first, and so they understand the security buyer, is you can take the distribution directly from them, or you can have them push the distribution to your repository, so that you're only pulling from your own repository. And this, I can't believe somebody coming out of Stealth did it, they have a way for you to sneaker net it.
Really?
So if you have an air-gapped network that you want to take their images to, you can take your thumb drive and move the images over, put them into your own repository, and distribute from there.
You know what else? Just thinking out loud. You could probably just generate an SBOM of it at the same time.
And in fact, they have the SBOM, so you can look and see exactly what is in everything, and so you produced your SBOM.
That's nice.
Yep.
That's nice. You don't know the website off the top of your head, do you?
Yeah, Minimus.io.
Minimus.
And like anybody can just go sign up, like you can get a personal account and start using Minimus today.
And I'll tell you, the Twistlock guys, so Chency, remember Chency was one of the Twistlock.
Yeah.
She wasn't a Twistlock guy, but she was one of the Twistlock.
And she's also one of the angel investors, I believe.
Is she? Yeah, well, I would imagine, because she's friends with them. Look, Twistlock was, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but one of the first cloud native
they really were
security companies that were out there.
Yep.
Bought early on by, wasn't it Palo?
Palo Alto.
Yeah, Palo Alto bought them early on. What a great story, Andy. It all came together here.
It did. It's fantastic. Now, it was really an experience for me on Monday morning when it's like, oh, this is a company I've backed. I didn't know what they were doing. And a marketing, like high risk, high reward option to come out of stealth on the first day of RSA.
But they got picked up. Vizard picked them up. We spoke about it on the gang today. Here we are talking about it.
Yep.
That's good.
It's good for them.
Standing out from the other 600.
Yeah, and I think they're giving away a Mini Cooper as well. People go up to their booth and scan the QR code, put in your information, and one person will win a Mini Cooper. I put in mine, but I'm pretty sure that if I win, they're going to be no, sorry, Andy, we're going to go pick somebody else.
You got to pick, no friends, family.
No friends and family.
Now, I do know that Mike Vizard's wife loves a Mini Cooper, and I wonder if that's why he wrote the story.
It might be. Maybe
he hasn't asked me to go over there. Anyway, Andy, we're about out of time, man. Where can people follow you?
So they can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm CSO Andy. I maintain csoandy.com, my personal website with almost all the content I've written, and howtociso.com.
That's the new one.
This is the new one. And you can also obviously follow Weil Ventures.
And in football season, you go to Gillette Stadium, you'll see him in there. He's the guy with the funny jersey with the chemistry of what it is to blow up a ball.
I retired that one.
Oh, you retired?
The Ideal Gas Law jersey. I got that one autographed, so I retired it. It's actually autographed by Brady's lawyer.
Really?
In the Deflategate case, Jeffrey Kessler. Now I'm wearing one that says Am Yisrael with the number 18 underneath it.
Very nice. Good for you. All right. That wraps up RSA Day. Well, I feel like I've been here all week, but it's only RSA Day 1.
Well,
we'll be back tomorrow with more. Thanks for joining us. This is TechStrong. I'm Alan Schimmel. We're out.